So NBA ratings has been a constant talking point this regular season. We've seen reports left and right about the NBA ratings are down. The NBA Cup didn't get as much traction as last year. I think it was at 1.35 million last year. It's down to about 1.16 million. I think the games have been really good. I've watched OKC Mavs game, the Bucks and Magic. I watched the Rockets and Warriors. I tuned in late in the second half. It was a great game to close it out. The Knicks, Hawks, I didn't catch that one, but the Hawks looked really good coming back in that second half against the Knicks. There's been some really good basketball. Now, some of the common reasons that people are bringing up is the three-point shooting. We're noticing that Victor Wembanyama is taking more three-pointers this year. Anthony Edwards at 10 attempts a game. The Boston Celtics, they attempt 51 threes a game. I'm a Boston Celtics fan, and I'm going to admit publicly that I do get bored watching the Boston Celtics at times. My wife likes watching the Celtics, and she admitted when they go up 20 points, they hit a bunch of threes and they just blitz you. It gets boring afterwards, especially when they're up like that 20, 25 point range and they're just jacking threes left and right. It does get kind of boring at times. And I also get frustrated when they're down 10 points or double digits and they're just constantly shooting threes instead of going to the basket and putting pressure at the rim or drawing fouls. And that can get very, repetitive. And it's like, okay, I want to turn this off. So I get the arguments there. Also, when the game is close and they're deciding to just rely on that 3-point shot and settle a little too much instead of taking Jaylen Brown, going to the post and shooting that mid-range shot. I would love to see Tatum do that more often. He doesn't do it enough, in my opinion. However, I'm going to admit, as a Celtics fan, their star play can get boring at times. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be because they move the ball so well. It's really pretty to watch if you're actually watching and sitting down and just looking at it from an objective standpoint. They move the ball really well. They attack the paint, they move it around the perimeter, and they get a really good shot. It just gets annoying when they're just settling, the ball isn't moving. So I get that argument. And there are teams out there that actually just go up and jack up threes and they don't try to get to the rim or move the ball around. Now, I don't think that's the main reason why ratings are down. You can say being subjective here, yada, yada. That's just my opinion. And the reason why I say that, because I think one of the other issues going on in the NBA is marketing their players as a collective unit. What do I mean by that? Look at the NFL. You got Patrick Mahomes. You've got Joe Burrow. You've got Josh Allen. You've got Lamar Jackson. What do these guys have in common right now? They win at the highest level. They may not win the Super Bowl, but they have deep playoff runs. Let's look at the current players in the NBA. Who are the players that had deep playoff runs and a long resume? LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. They're at the end of their careers and be retiring very soon. You have guys that are coming up. Anthony Edwards just made his first Western Conference Finals appearance last year. You got a guy like Luka Doncic who's made 2 Western Conference Finals in his first NBA Finals last season. You got a guy, Nikola Jokic, who just won his first championship last year. He had another playoff run this last season. This got knocked down in the second round. There are young guys who have no resume right now. They're not winning on a consistent basis. To no fault of their own, they're just new to the league and getting the exposure. But when you're relying on guys like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James, there hasn't been that full transition yet to the young core of players. Jason Tatum, he just won his championship, but a lot of the conversation around Tatum is where he's on a really good roster, and he is getting deeper in the playoffs, but also his marketability. He doesn't always want to be in the spotlight. He's not always seeking to be the face of the league. His personality is really quiet. He wants to be himself at times. He doesn't always want to be out in the media talking 24/7. Yes, he gets a lot of commercials, but when I look at a guy like Anthony Edwards, he has a bigger personality. He talks a lot of trash. You hear him going back and forth with players out there. People love to see that. So I think another issue going on with the NBA is not marketing their players as a collective unit. They're always in the media. What are they talking about? The Los Angeles Lakers 24/7. Well, why don't we talk about a team like the Atlanta Hawks, like I mentioned yesterday, how they look really good. They've made some really good acquisitions over the offseason. They're starting to turn things around. They have some sense of direction. Or why weren't we talking about the Sacramento Kings when they had that really good run two seasons ago? They lost in a 7-game series, but there wasn't enough conversations being had about the Sacramento Kings. All of it was about LeBron James and the Lakers, not enough about other teams and what they're doing. So I think a big issue also, let's not forget about SGA. He just came on the scene, had his first real playoff run last season. So these guys are young. They're just starting to win in the playoffs. But when you have guys in the NFL like a Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, You have Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Those guys are winning and getting in the playoffs, and they've done it for a number of seasons now. So I think what's going on is there's a transition with the NBA. People are going to talk about, well, let's go back to the physical style of play. No offense, I don't want to see games that are in the 80s. That's going to be very boring basketball. It's going to be tiring, and because you want to see some scoring at some point. Like, I'm not going to lie, the Rockets and Warriors game is really awesome to watch because the referees let them play. But at times you do want to see some scoring because, defense is great. I'm not against that. But, I would love to see some offense still. Not saying it has to be like the 115, 120 range, maybe like 105 to 102 or 90, 90, 96. That's respectable because you look at the WNBA, I mean, they're very physical and I do enjoy it to some extent, but when you're only scoring like 60 points, I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch any more of this. You're shooting 30% from the field. It's just disgusting stuff and it turns me off. So I think the NBA has to find a way to structure this appropriately. Now, the complaining, like I get you have a right to share your thoughts because as the fan of the product, you need to share what's on your mind. But on the flip side of that is what is the solution here? What are we going to do to fix this situation? I think when LeBron leaves, that's going to help the NBA because a lot of fans, and he's polarizing. Again, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but I'm not this type of guy who's like, oh, he has, I saw someone say he's manufactured his career, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, if Jordan was in LeBron's shoes and he was playing in Cleveland for 8 years and he had an opportunity to be a free agent and form a super team, do you think he would have done that? Maybe. You never know. We don't know those answers. I just think it's important for the NBA to market their players. Look at Anthony Edwards. Look at Victor Wembanyama. Look at Apollo Banchero in Orlando. Look at a guy like SGA and start pushing these guys further and stop just focusing so much on LeBron, Curry, and Durant. They're getting old and we got to move on from them eventually because when they're retired, you got to look at the next faces of the NBA. I think Anthony Edwards is the starting point because he wants that opportunity. So I would push Anthony Edwards. And if he, gets through this struggle with Minnesota, I know they're going through a lot right now when they traded Karl Anthony Towns. But if Minnesota gets back to the top of Western Conference, I should say, and they make a deep playoff run, all of a sudden Ant's getting more attention. So I think, again, a lot of this is marketability. Another factor is, the three-point shooting. Like, it is crazy out here. But I think a lot of it is Boston has the personnel to shoot that many threes each game. They've got the ball move. They got the versatility. They got the players who can make those type of plays happen. But a team like Charlotte or Atlanta, they don't have the same personnel. I'm not saying these teams are trash. What I'm saying is they don't have the same type of playmaking and versatility out there like the Boston Celtics. So that's why they can shoot so many threes. If you want to say, let's limit the attempts, that's fine. I don't really have a huge issue with that, but there has to be some caveats to that. So for example, let's just say you want no more than 43s taken each game. Cool. But if you're down 3 points in the last 30 seconds of a basketball game and you need a 3-point shot, then there has to be some gray areas here. Because if they have to settle for twos because they've already taken 43s in that basketball game, that's not fair to them because they want to tie the game and send it to overtime. So we just got to be careful with changing the rules. There's a lot of things that, that's got to get cleaned up here. And I'm not going to sit here and act like the 3-point shooting isn't boring because it is at times. And it's like, oh, it can put you to sleep. But on the flip side is if you want to see games and scoring 70 points a night, that can be exhausting as well. I think the physicality needs to be there in the NBA. Again, the NBA Cup, they were allowing things to happen, and it was very entertaining basketball to watch. 2 things I want to close with. First one is the media. Mainstream media is dying. A lot of content that people are getting is on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so forth. So if the mainstream media is pushing the same team over and over again, well, guess what? The audience is going to go somewhere else, like a YouTube basketball channel, like TikTok. They're going to go on these or podcasts. They're going to go on these platforms and see it from their perspective. Players have podcasts. They don't always make sense, but they want to hear their point of view. When you're constantly hearing about the Lakers 24/7, you want like, well, I'm a Hawks fan. I want to hear what somebody has to say about the Atlanta Hawks. Yes, I have my local media, but I want to hear other people talk about my team because they look pretty good. That's just one example. Or you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's a small market, but they have the best team in the Western Conference right now. So again, if you don't like what you're seeing, turn it off and make your own content if it's that bad to you. And just do that, and you can share what's on your mind. I think that's really a great avenue to go into. The second thing is When it comes to NBA ratings, yes, things are down. Also, you got to remember they just signed an 11-year, $76 billion deal to get platforms on Amazon, and I think they have NBC involved, and they have Peacock. When you look at what's going on in the world, streaming is the future of cable. Cable is losing its influence. People aren't buying cable packages. I don't have cable. Why would I want to spend $60, $80 a month to have 300, 500, or 1,000 channels when I'm not going to watch really any of them at all? I have like 4 or 5 I'll watch. That's just a waste of my time. Also, I got to sit there and wait on a commercial. I'm not interested in that. When you have services and options out there where you can get access to it faster, you're going to go in that direction. And in our generation, you're going to see this become more prevalent in the future. So when people talk about ratings, try to remember that when it comes to cable packages, they are losing money, the revenue is going down, and subscriptions are just decreasing year in and year out because people have options and they want to get access to information a lot faster. So those are just my thoughts on the NBA ratings. I'm not really concerned at all because I think if the NBA can get to a point where we got to move off LeBron, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, and as long as Anthony Edwards, Tatum, Jokic, Luka, these guys are still winning, I think things will be okay in the NBA. And, the shift from LeBron and these older heads, the NBA will be in good hands here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Whether you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.